Revelation 582. From the 13th of September 1938. Freedom of faith. Natural explanation. Joyful work of the soul. Rejecting. If your prayer is to remain unconstrained, connect in spirit with your Heavenly Father, and let the thoughts approach you, then every mechanical exercise will fall away, and you will pray to God in your heart. The Lord hears everything, every thought and every longing for Him, and therefore words are not necessary. On the other hand, all truly good thinking and willing will be blessed. This connection with the world beyond is the only way through which the Lord can make Himself known in such a way that people are left with their freedom of faith. An obvious proclamation from above would put them in a state where they would be forced into a faith even against their will. And such a directed faith, an acceptance of the doctrine of God by certain coercion, is without success for the soul. That is why God's messages must be transmitted to man in a way that does not force him to believe in any way. The Lord certainly has many means to make Himself heard, but as long as man has a purely natural explanation for it at the same time, he can decide completely freely to regard something as a natural effect or as an open expression of the will of God, and to then accordingly take a stand for the eternal Godhead. It is extremely difficult to restore faith to such people who have dropped it after a short examination and wrong judgment, and it requires unspeakable patience and perseverance to direct them again and again to a field they are more hostile to, and therefore it always remains a tremendous task to teach such fallen away people the deep knowledge of God's love. It requires extremely strong proofs on the one hand, and on the other hand again these proofs must still lie within the scope of possibility, because otherwise there could no longer be a question of faith. But man would have to accept what would be obviously presented to him. The soul has a wide field of work. It must be agitated uninterruptedly, since it applies to use the earthly life according to purpose. In deep faith and in clear knowledge it must already use all strength to reach its goal. But if it loses the time by neglecting its work on earth because of lack of knowledge, it will have to struggle harder and harder the later it has found it. It has too little time for its actual activity, and only an extremely strong will succeeds in making up for what it has missed and to work on itself with increased strength. So now the Lord will come to the aid of those and give them indications, so that they may easily accept faith and acquire assistance through it. Interruption. But again there are so many dangers that threaten such a soul if it approaches unwillingly the work that is solely meant for its advancement. For it remains so long in the constant fight with evil powers, as it does not strive joyfully upward. Only when the strong urge is felt in the heart to always do only what is pleasing to God, will the influences of the evil powers weaken and finally no longer be able to bother the earthly child at all, for then this power is broken by the intimate desire for light, which alone can come from above. If now the soul, in its desire for God, is aware of its weakness and asks intimately for strength, then it is so to say carried upward by spiritual strength. A soul that asks will have everything at its disposal that is conducive to progress, and once it has become aware of its task, it follows it joyfully and eagerly. However, the stronger desire can also apply to matter, and this is decline or death of the soul. And completely useless is the earthly time where only the body comes to its supposed right, but the soul starves and languishes. And then no thought will turn to the spiritual. Rejection, mockery and contempt towards all spiritual subjects and complete emptiness of heart are the characteristics of such erring souls languishing in the fetters of matter. They do not recognize the great goodness of the Lord and stand too far away from the Father of the universe. And if the Godhead also works obviously, then they rather close their eyes and remain further in spiritual darkness. All will see the signs of heaven, but only to a few will they mean what they are supposed to mean. Warning signals of greatest need. He who heeds these is not in danger of being swallowed up whole by the devastating torrent of fire which is now to pour down upon mankind. Interruption.